Hello there, it is I, and we are back at it again. So, if you aren't aware, which I wouldn't blame you if you weren't, but the trailer for Treasure Island 6.5 has been released, showing an amazing game that Radiance Team has been working on for a very long time, and is literally coming out very soon. It's been coming out soon for a while, which I know is a very weird way to say. The game is very close to completion. And who knows, by the time I release this video, the game is probably already out. But no reason in trying to get ahead of the hype and attempting to go over the series as it is now before this video becomes severely outdated just because of one absolutely peak game on the way. If you didn't know, Treasure Island means a lot to me. And the whole reason that Radiance Team is even making 6.5 is because they look down upon 6.0, the original precursor to this game. And while I definitely do like 6.0, it definitely does need a revamp. This game is going to be Radiance Team's biggest project yet, their highest quality project, their magnum opus. And unfortunately to many, their last FNAF fan game they will ever be making, as after this, they'll be leaving the fandom. They're going on to make their own games. They are at this point a AAA studio, like seriously. So it's crazy to think that the games we're getting are from a AAA studio, of all things. And I am so glad that they are going on to do their own thing, but I do hope they give us a good bid farewell to the series and FNAF fan games as a whole, as everyone has looked up to them ever since they released games like Chuck E. Cheese's Rebooted, Treasure Island, and even games before that. So, again, I figured what now is more than a better time than to go over Treasure Island in its entirety, going over any other secondary games, and of course Treasure Island and Oblitus Casa. And no, this isn't some video about me talking about 3D printed figures, this isn't a photo dump, and this isn't some call me VR chat video. No, this is a video about a game series I hold near and dear to my heart. Using good quality graphics and my best editing work yet. I hope. Look, I can only do so much with DaVinci Resolve that I'm not aware of as a baseline editor, but that is neither here nor there. So without further ado, and to shut me up for just a little bit, let's get into Five Nights at Treasure Island. Sorry, I was rereading this part of the script, and I saw where it said good quality graphics in quotation. Boy, who the f wrote this script? Okay, one more thing that is not a bit. This video goes over me replaying the games, so this is like my 5th time playing both of these games again. And yes, I did do this as an excuse to play these games again, because I really do like them. But this video is going to go over their gameplay, the pros and cons I have with them, and other things in general about them, and also their story. And it's how I see the story. I know it's probably not what Radiance had in mind, but it might be, I don't know. And I guess you guys can judge me in the comments or whatever. But actually, let's start with Five Nights, or well, not even Five Nights, just Treasure Island. Hey, this is future me. I'm gonna be completely honest, a lot of the audio in this video sucks because a lot of it was just done on the spot. So I'm gonna be coming here and there every now and then to just fix things that I say that are wrong. I know I should just re-record it, but as you can tell, I'm using a different mic. I will get to that later, don't worry. But yeah, because it's so jarring to switch from mic quality to mic quality, I don't want to do that. I already did that once by accident, and this is gonna be just as bad, but, it's not gonna be as bad if I re-recorded pretty much every line, so enjoy the video.
You have one unheard message.
Hello? Jake?
The game opens up with a little cutscene of Jake arriving on the island and getting a phone call from Greg, talking about how he finally got the job being an SSA intern. However, it's pretty apparent that this island is in no way normal. Then we're shown this. The title screen. It's nothing crazy, but again, when it came out, this was genuinely terrifying. Mickey in a dark, endless void, just staring down, you know, tweaking every now and then, obviously, but regardless, he was just there. He wasn't causing any problem necessarily. He wasn't even really doing anything. He was just there, and to many, that is terrifying. Him not being able to see any of his facial details. Even when he does move his face, you can't see them. Okay, not well, obviously you can't see his snout, but like, that is neither here nor there. And you know, there's not really like menu music per se, but if you do stay here long enough, a very common tradition in Fanati games happens. This. Mickey ducks down. Just like that, he jump scares you. This is such an effective way. And if this is your first time ever playing the game, this auto starts night one. So how about we stop stalling and actually get to it? Night one opens up with a little tip talking about photonegative Mickey. Talking about how you need to shut off the camera.
Wait a second. Hold on. I gotta shut myself up here for a second. This is one of those bits I was talking about where I gotta fix things. The tip very clearly says to shut off the lights, or that you can shut off the lights. You shouldn't keep them off for too long, though. It very clearly says that. I don't know why I was saying it was P&M and needing to shut off a camera. I mean, Greg talks about that himself. That's his whole job. Anyway, back to the video.
But of course, Greg himself, the phone guy for this night, talks about that himself. Greg goes over about why you're even here at the island to begin with, talking about how this is a contract deal with Disney to see what exactly is even happening here, considering that there have been strange whereabouts or findings on this island. Supposed living, roaming costumes around the place, and your job is to obviously detail and document this stuff. Of course, we thankfully won't have to be doing that, but unfortunately, we'll be having to deal with them in the worst setting of all, an abandoned island that's very decrepit and decayed. You know, fun fact here, Treasure Island is a legitimate real place that actually existed in Lake Bay, Florida. And they were both pretty cool islands for the time. Had their issues though, which is why they both closed. They were not the best money makers as well in general. Anyway, ignoring that, back to the game. Greg goes over the photonegative Mickey costume and goes over about how while he cannot confirm nor deny exactly what it is, he can, however, tell you how to potentially get rid of it. By shutting off one of the cameras in one of the adjacent rooms, or really any of the rooms in the building, that will lure the suit out of your office, due to P&M not being able to really see, but he has some pretty good hearing, which, boy, I sure wonder why. Anyway, it's enough to get rid of him, so with that, Greg leaves us to our own devices, and we deal with the rest of the night. It's not too easy to the point where you can literally beat the night by doing nothing. FNAF 3. I don't care if people praise night 1 of FNAF 3 for letting you just get used to the building. You should still have a threat on night 1. Anyway though, again, it's not too hard, it's also not too easy. I'd say it's pretty perfect, and you can still get used to the building. Not like you'll really need to, but that's what we say. Radiance says otherwise, and we'll get to that later.
Photonegative Mickey is a pretty perfect Night 1 character.
He doesn't make himself known, necessarily. He'll say stuff like, and... But regardless, he's not constantly shouting your ear off with lines, unlike other versions of him or other characters in general who rely on voice lines. He also doesn't have a lot of audio cues. At least ones that aren't obvious. He has ones like floor creaking, opening doors, and this weird one that sounds like it's kind of him screaming or moaning. Never saying that again. Oh gosh, that sounds weird. Anyway, P&M is a perfect night 1 threat. Speaking of him, how about we actually go over PNM for a second here? Photo Negative Mickey, or PNM as he's really known nowadays, originates from the Abandoned by Disney creepypasta written by Slimebeast, which is unironically an actually really well written creepypasta that would have 3 more sequels come out and would actually be published into a book. Just not under the name Abandoned by Disney, as you can imagine. Anyway, he is what is known as a Corruptus. However, this is the actual story, like the original creepypasta lore, not the Treasure Island lore, even though I'm pretty sure they are semi-tied together, but again, that doesn't really matter. Jumping about a year from 2013 to 2014, FNAF would be a big hit success, and with it, FNAF fan games would come. Treasure Island, or Five Nights at Treasure Island, of course made by Anart 1996, would be one of the first, if not the first FNAF fan game to not only have original assets and original mechanics, but to also gain a lot of traction, mostly because it was played by the one and only Markiplier.
What the fuck?
Anyway, in 2020, Radiance Team would remaster the game completely, which is the one we're talking about right now, obviously, and his design would be completely revamped. Mostly. He's still a toon, even though he should be in a mascot suit, but hey, we'll get to him later. There's a lot of layers here, trust me, they will all mean something. Anyway, with PNM now explained, and the night over, I think we should go ahead and skedaddle onto night 2. Wait a minute, we're supposed to be going to night 2, what's this? Oh, right, these random cutscenes that happen in between the nights every now and then. They're not in every night, but they are in this night. This cutscene is presumably from the perspective of another SSA intern who we will be talking about later. Again, I know more laters, but again, we will get to him. He is going to come in a lot quicker than the others. But regardless, this guy appears to be trapped down in wherever he is, in a bit of a gated room that kinda looks like Nightmare Before Disney, which is another old Five Nights at Treasure Island game. But actually moving on to night 2. The night starts up and we get a phone call from the only major female in this game, Lisa. She is another SSA member and she has to correct Greg on a few things. Turns out the characters can see. Not particularly the best, but do see pretty well.
Jeez, I was trying to say, while they can't see the best, they can see nonetheless. Ooh, that rhymes.
And others have even better hearing. So it's best to try to avoid these characters as much as possible. Not like we have a choice, but okay. Anyway, something else she also warns us about is to never, ever, under any circumstance, enter the pirate caverns, and practically begging us to never even think about the idea. Which we will completely ignore, by the way, but again, later! This night introduces 2 more characters from the older builds of the game. One from the original creepypasta, and one who was an original to Five Nights at Treasure Island. Starting with the other creepypasta character, Disembodied, who originally was just a Donald Duck head with a skull inside of it, has now been transformed into whatever this thing is. Regardless, Disembodied's whole mechanic is that he's able to walk into the office and start screaming at you.
And for reference, here's just a quick example of what that might look like. Volume warning.
All you gotta do is shut off a camera in any of the rooms. He is exactly like PNM, except he cannot kill you. Supposedly, he's able to speed up the other characters, but I have yet to see this legitimately happen. However, for another character later on, he can stop you from holding still. I didn't know he could do that, by the way, until replaying the game. I'm sad now. Anyway, on to the other character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Well, not so lucky this time. In the story, Oswald was supposedly an unfinished costume that never got to see the light of day, which doesn't make any sense because he was owned by Universal at the time, but that is neither here nor there. Oswald's whole thing is that he likes to hide in darker places due to his darker color palette, due to him being comprised of mostly black as opposed to PNM's, well, photo-negative colors and Disembodied literally being nothing but white and orange. Oswald likes to hide in darker corners and areas you just would not expect. And due to this, you'll practically never really see him come into the office. Until he actually enters the office where you can see his pretty pink white clown makeup face. Never saying that again. Again, he's another shut off the camera to get rid of him guy. Unfortunately, this is where one of my main complaints of the game comes in. Actually, two of them. This being the heavy reliance on the cameras, not actually looking at them, mind you, but just shutting them off, and the keybinds. Now, having the cameras be binded to a key has been a thing since the first ever build of Finati, but the problem here is that the characters are a lot more aggressive, but they're not aggressive to where it's unfair, where they can go from their starting location immediately to your office and then jump you. Like, it's unfair necessarily to the characters because of how quicker you're able to move and how much more fair they were made. It's so easy that all you have to do is that once a character enters the office, quickly find a camera and spam the space bar just to get rid of them, and it will work every single time. Regardless, there's way more cameras to use here, and you don't even need to pay attention to what's actually happening on them. Just whenever one of the characters wanders in, spam a camera, and they'll wander back out like they never entered. Tangent aside, nothing really happens in Night 2 that's noteworthy. So, after beating the night, we get another cutscene. A continuation from the last one. Nothing crazy happens, but... What the... Is that the girl from The Ring? I mean, I've never seen the movie, but it has ring eyes. It looks like a Mickey, but I can't really tell. It's too dark. Anyway, that aside, Night 3 starts up, and we get a very different phone call. Coming from another SSA intern, Henry. Now, I'm no theorist, but this could potentially be the other SSA intern or person that we're seeing down in the further depths of this building. And even though he does tell us that he's in the Pirate Caverns, which, judging by the name alone, implies that it's underneath where we are, we can only speculate. So, with a very distressed Henry and a cut-off phone call telling us to come to the second floor in the Pirate Caverns, we go through the night. This night introduces two more characters that are original to Five Nights at Treasure Island, Acephalus and Impurity. Acephalus is a beheaded or decapitated Goofy costume, whose head you can actually see in the meat freezer camera. All you gotta do is when Acephalus wanders into the office, you gotta hold still. Do this for as long as you need, and eventually he'll wander back out. Like he, again, was never there. Also, shutting off the lights, which you can do whenever, reveals that his face is still technically there, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Impurity is the other character added. She is just a distorted mini, looking normal from the neck down, but the face... Oh. Looks like her skull's popping out a little much. Go, I don't know, get some makeup? Look, I don't know girl stuff. Anyway, Impurity works exactly like Photo Negative Mickey and Oswald. However, though, she likes to hide off to the side more. Something P&M does do, but she primarily can only come in from one side, that being the left. She is really easy, and she is probably the most talkative, I'd say, next to Acephalus and P&M. Oswald is right below them. Again, like Night 2, nothing crazy really happens in these nights. So, without further ado, let's go to Night 4. Wait a sec. Oh right! Pirate Caverns! We actually get to explore these. We don't just ignore Henry. The Pirate Caverns is a location actually technically on the same floor as you, but you gotta take an elevator to get down to. The entrance to the caverns is actually on your cameras, which is to the right of you in the building. By entering the little cavern entrance, you come to what seems to be a little walkway down there. And it's a pretty relaxing walk down there, until you see this thing. This paraplegic, distorted Mickey Mouse looking thing, known as the Face. This thing is down here and can chase you wherever you go. It doesn't matter what floor or what part of the building you're in the caverns, it can be there. But don't worry, the Face is arguably one of the easiest characters to deal with. All you gotta do is just flash him. Now, you might have trouble seeing him every now and then, but luckily for you, you got a flashlight, so it's pretty easy to find him. If you decide to just go to the elevator, you can walk down and go to the gift shop right below. Going through the gift shop, you're met face to face with this surprisingly much taller looking man. in a Mickey costume. I don't know how tall Jake is, but something tells me this is not a toon or whatever the other characters are. This thing is more humanoid than the others. But again, no theorizing right now, so we'll get to what he is. This is Undying, a Mickey Mouse costume who was originally just a red humanoid in the older build, who has had a complete makeover in Treasure Island, and a very nice one, I must say. All you gotta do is stand still, and I don't know exactly what it is. None of these characters are necessarily scared of me, but again, something tells me there's something different with this character. Anyway, you keep walking through these ear-looking wood catwalk things, and eventually you make it to a door that has a lot of papers around it, saying to leave and to leave whoever's in there alone. It doesn't really matter though, you still try to get in, but you can't. The door's locked. So, there's only one thing you can do. You gotta go back. Avoiding both the face and Undying on your way up there, going to one of the side rooms on the first floor, in a computer-looking office, you find a key. So, you obviously know where to go. So, by going back to the elevator and going through the catwalk and avoiding the face and Undying for one final round, you eventually make it to the door. And the room inside reminds me of a madman. I think it does for many, but I don't know.
Seeing scribbles, presumably done in blood, saying stuff like, "They are lying. Do not listen. Lies. Lies." You know, the thought process of a madman. Kind of like Ratman from Portal.
Pictures and drawings of the Mickey Man or whatever he is, and other costumes and other things. It's truly are those pee bottles? Wait. Mattress pad, pee bottles. Jokes aside, someone was living down here and clearly for a while. Not so long that they'd be dead because, okay, this sounds weird, but the urine is still decently yellow. It's not like black or green, so it's clearly not that old, but regardless, someone... Man, I wish I could theorize, but again, we'll get to it later. Night 4 begins, and we're already hit with a new character. The face from the caverns. He's now up here with us. No phone call this time, and as before, this night is uneventful. But, however, apparently the face has now got built-in sunglasses into his eyes, so now flashing him will do literally nothing. Not like we could flash him to begin with, but regardless, he is the only character who has this one mechanic. You've been able to shut off the lights in the building this whole time, so by shutting off the lights in the office, the face will leave. Again, nothing really happens for this night. I do, however, want to say this. While this game is still easy, no matter what, this is where the difficulty ramps up a lot. So, power management, because yes, you do have power. Unlike the other versions of the game, you need to manage it well. Turning off the lights just in general, not because of the face, but just to keep the power running is necessary. Being tight with the other characters, making sure to deal with characters like Acephalus as quick as possible, making sure Disembodied doesn't stay in the office too long, and getting rid of the others before they kill you is necessary. Regardless, let's get on to night 5. But first, of course, another cutscene. This one has a little bit more interactability though. Whoever is down here seeing this Mickey-looking thing, it leaves him. Strange. It looked like it wanted to kill. Oh! Okay. Not necessarily a jump scare, just unexpected in all things considered. This thing apparently can just go through anything. It's able to go through those metal bars like it was nothing. But regardless, the cutscene ends and night 5 begins. Night 5? Night 5 begins. Sorry for the drowsiness. Night 5 begins with another phone call. This one being a lot more FNAF-ish, in the sense that it's just gargled up mess. Now I have no idea if there's a hidden message if you reverse this, and I easily could, and if there is, I'll edit it in.
Hey, future me here, just attempted to reverse the audio for Night 5's phone call, and, so it's not fully FNAF-esque. But it is still there, but it was still a gargled up mess. However, I did see on a Reddit post somewhere, I can't, like, look at what it says anymore, because for some reason the file that was attached is just messed up or something, but apparently the message is in base 64, so, yeah. Hey, future me, again, for, like, the 30th time, with a good bit of help from a good friend of mine, figured out what the message is, and yeah, it mostly goes along the lines of, I'm sorry, Jake, I need a body, they're liars, the dead man walking. This is most likely Henry, but whatever.
But regardless, this distorted phone call ends, and we get introduced to our final character, Undying, who, I must say, should have just been added in on night 4 to have the whole night 5 be the last gauntlet thing here. This is where everything comes together, and honestly, this night's not actually that hard. Most of the difficulty actually comes from the power drain being a lot more than usual, which, if you ask me, I think is perfectly fine. And it really works in this night's favor, making it so that you have to be a lot tighter with power usage, and every character comes in a lot quicker than normal, but not too much to where you can't deal with it. Honestly, I think this is the perfect night to end off the game. And night 5 ends. No cutscene, no coming back to the caverns this time, we just end. Oh wait, there is a cutscene. But it's different from the others. We're given one final cutscene by Greg, the thing that will send us off from this game, and we can move on to the
Probably want to get out there, but there's been a few issues over here at base, and you're gonna have to stay at the island for a little bit longer. I'm super sorry, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Greg
Just try and keep
says we can't leave? What do you mean we can't leave? We've been here for 5 nights. We've almost died on multiple occasions. You know how close we've gotten to these things? Why are we still here? Why do we have to... What is that? Night 6 starts, and we do have a phone call. It's from Henry again. He found something. Something that the SSA has been looking for this entire time, and it's in the caverns on floor 3. He gives us a code, 3497. And with that, Night 6 starts. The main threat of Night 6 is the merger of all of the characters into one big amalgamation of a creature, that being Hourglass, who is actually one of the older characters from some of the older builds, mostly from Abandoned Discovery Island, which is actually a fan game. Either way, Hourglass is here, and he is terrifying. Like I said earlier, he's the amalgamation of the other characters, meaning he takes on all of their attributes. Seemingly, though, it appears that 2 characters have been excluded, but we will get to them later. Now, the moment Hourglass comes in the office, you don't know what to do. You do everything, but you die. But the night auto starts. Something tells me this thing doesn't want you to leave, ever. Now you might be thinking, how do you deal with Hourglass? It's a lot simpler than you think. Like I said earlier again for the 3rd time, he acts like the other characters. And the way you tell which one he's mimicking currently is his starting position. If Hourglass starts in either cams 3 or 4, you have to shut off a camera as he's mimicking either Oswald, Impurity, or PNM. If Hourglass starts in cameras 5 or 8, he's either mimicking Acephalus or Undying. And finally, and this one you don't even really need to check for it because he's so daggum fast, all you gotta do is just turn off the lights, he'll be mimicking the face when he goes to camera 9. Now, I actually think this is a really good and cool idea, and I'd say they did it pretty well, as something even cooler is that the more the night goes on, the faster Hourglass gets, and the more power that ends up draining over time. It's pretty cool, and the moment you hit 6 a.m., it's super rewarding. Beating Night 6, you think the nightmare is finally over. So, you only have one more thing to do. Henry asks something of us, and we are going to carry it out. So, you go to the Pirate Caverns. Going down into the caverns, there's a chance you may or may not see the face or Undying. However, there's a really good chance you won't. Going down to floor 3, you see it. A door with a keypad. Punching in the numbers, the door opens. It sounds pretty heavy. Whatever is back there needed this reinforced door. Opening it, you see a little hallway with 4 rooms off to the side. These rooms don't have anything to them, but they are here, and they have little things on them. And sometimes, though, you might see the Mickey thing with the ring eyes. It's best you stay away from it. Alright, enough stalling and ignoring the big vault door in front of you. You open it, and you see what's inside. You see what looks like Walt Disney's original desk. Something that at least looked like it or mattered to him to some extent. Either way, it has a drawing on it. It's actually, I'm pretty sure, the one that they made when Oswald was sold to Universal, or when he was bought back for Epic Mickey. Either way, that's not the only drawing. There are many drawings in here. Some negative film coloring, Mick, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm assuming a Mickey costume in there. Maybe that's where Undyne's costume came from. I don't know. Well, there's not really okay, who? Oh, that is close, ma'am. Mr. Thing. I don't know what you are, but...
Bro, what the?
And with that, the main part of Treasure Island is done. After that, there's some little extras off to the side. A classic mode, which is supposed to be a final recode and a final version of the older builds of the game, and the custom night. Without going into too much detail, and not really wanting to get into this as it's not really based on the story or important to it, necessarily, here are the custom night characters, and how you unlock them as well. By going to the classic mode and completing up until the pirate caverns where you only have to survive for a minute, you'll unlock Classic the Face. And then after beating the actual game, you'll unlock Classic Photo Negative Mickey.
Wanna see my shirt come off?
Going to the custom night and going to its challenges, go and complete the Nightmare Challenge, which is just Night 5 but a little bit harder. And by doing so, you'll unlock Mascot P&M. And for the last 3 custom night characters that are pretty easy to unlock, that being Pete, Willie, and Sparky, you'll have to complete the Clubhouse, the Classics, and Big Creature challenges respectively. Then by completing all the other challenges, you'll be given access to True Nightmare. If you want to though, completing True Nightmare will actually get you a cutscene involving an old rusty door with the title Project DI or D1 on it. 2 numbers pop up on screen. It then opens slowly with a very, very rusty set of hinges. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is for another Fnati fan game that has something along these lines. I don't know. I don't know if it's called Fnati Project DI or something. Regardless, I think this was for a teaser game that whatever that dev team had. Or I could be completely wrong. If this isn't supposed to be obvious, I don't really know what this is supposed to mean. It doesn't really have any relevance to the story, so I'll be ignoring it. But anyway though, that's Treasure Island. But we know it has a sequel. One that people praise even to this day.
Sorry, I know I said I was gonna go ahead and start talking about Oblitus Casa, but I had to talk about this character real quick because I felt wrong if I didn't. There is a small chance, checking the broadcasting room camera, every now and then, Mickey heads will start to show up on the TVs. You know, like the older style at the end of a cartoon Mickey heads. If you sit here long enough, this theme starts to play. Switching from camera to camera or just sitting on the broadcasting camera, a mouse will come out of the TV. This Mickey is known as Mortimer, not to be confused with Mortimer Mouse, but his name definitely derives from that character. Anyway, Mortimer is a direct reference to another old Disney creepypasta known as Mouse.avi, or in other cases SuicideMouse.avi. The theme playing is actually from one of the most popular remakes of the original creepypasta. Mortimer is, again, another older Fnati character as well, coming from Fnati 1.0 Remastered. In that, he didn't talk, but he did have his theme, and trust me, he would get a voice later on by Molerat.
Real suffering is not known.
And it's laughable. His new one is substantially better.
Real suffering is not known.
Anyway, Mortimer's new design basically is a revamp of his original, putting blood on his smile, making his smile bigger, giving him visible teeth, and having wires coming off of him, and in some depictions even having static in his eyes. Mortimer works exactly like photonegative Mickey. He comes into the office, shut a camera off, and he'll leave. And he'll immediately go back to the broadcasting camera. He doesn't really have any lore relevance, but he is one of the most prominent and popular secret characters. I thought it'd be wrong if I didn't at least include him. Alright, real quick, before I start this section of the video, I think it's pretty obvious, got a different mic. You probably already heard me using this mic a lot. The reason I'm using it is because I kind of broke my main one while recording the Oblitus Casa section, beating Night 5. I accidentally knocked it over, and that crappy old on mic finally gave out. So we have now upgraded to a Logitech webcam. We're going up in the world, people. Alright, but enough stalling. It's time to finally talk about Treasure Island's sister game, Oblitus Casa. Or Oblitus Casa. Bro, I don't even care anymore. The game opens up on a cutscene of a reel-to-reel machine recording a therapy session between Dr. Jared Rowley and Jake Smith. Again, Jake Smith is the guy we were playing as the entire time during Treasure Island. Dr. Jared, for the sake of organization, tells us the date, being December 1st of 2004, which, you probably didn't know this, but in the story, Treasure Island takes place in 2003, meaning that this recording and the game have an entire year's gap between them. Now you might be thinking, well, was Jake on that island for a year? Yes, he was, so it makes sense why he's getting therapy. Unfortunately, though, the authorities need answers out of him so that they can get more information on their current report, that being the Discovery Island incident, which the incident included the disappearances of 4 people: Jake Smith himself, Greg McLaughlin, Lisa Birch, and Henry Miller. Jake would be abandoned on the island during 2003. Not until July 23rd of 2004 would he be taken in by authorities after showing signs of delusions and paranoia. Currently, due to this being the only member left of his team on the island, he is now a suspect in the disappearances of the people mentioned previously, which kinda sucks considering it's not even his fault. More so though, he's just there to get information for them to eventually find where they are. Something I also want to say is that while we obviously can't hear Jake, it's pretty obvious that both him and Dr. Jared do not exactly really want to do this. Dr. Jared especially not really wanting to put more stress on his own patient. Heck, the moment that Dr. Jared asks Jake if he might want to recall what exactly happened on the island, Jake flat out refuses, which Dr. Jared understands and obliges, and says that they can do that some other time when Jake's a little more comfortable. However, something that's completely new to us is a cabin. Dr. Jared feels like this might be a perfect place to start, not at the beginning, but not exactly at the end either. He seems very interested in Jake talking about the cabin, considering apparently he did something to it, which we will find out eventually what he did. But for now, we're left ambiguous to what Jake did. Jake does refuse wanting to tell Dr. Jared about the cabin, but Dr. Jared reminds him that that island took an entire year of his life. Took 3 of his good friends. Does he really want that island to take more from him? It's already taken enough as is. While it might not be the easiest to talking about it in general and getting it off his chest will help him in the long run, and the sooner they deal with this case, the sooner that Dr. Jared can help Jake getting better. So reluctantly, obviously we can't hear him, but reluctantly, Jake obliges and tells us what happened. Alright, I'm gonna be honest, this cutscene's peak a lot better than Treasure Island's opening cutscene. However though, something I will admit that Treasure Island does have over Oblitus Casa is its title screen. Yeah, there's nothing really cool here, but it does make up for it. In the lack of being a traditional Fnatic title screen, we get something that's pretty cool. Seeing as this is actually version 2 of the game, not only do you get to choose the title screen from the beta, you also get to choose it from version 1 and version 2. But what if you hate those title screens? Well, you can put your own in the game. Meaning, yes, you can put any stupid picture you want and it will become the background. And I think that's really cool. And anyway, enough about the title screen. Let's start Night 1. Night 1 opens up with Jake in the cabin. And this cabin is the main office that we're going to have for the rest of the game, just like the other one. Regardless, off to our right, we have a little notepad and 2 doorways. The notepad actually does have stuff on it, but we'll get to that in a second. In the middle of the cabin is our camera system. It has a music box feature and a flashing camera. Man, why did we not have this earlier for Face? Speaking of Face, we will talk about him later, but off to our left, there's a staircase that takes us up to the attic upstairs, which has a little drawing in the back too. Part of me thinks that this room is inspired by the Lost Ones, but I could be wrong. Going back to the right, the notepad says the following. Your friends are dead. I'm here to help you. The music on the cameras fool him. Check this notepad frequently. Now, I am inclined to believe that this might be Henry, but who knows? It could really be anyone at this point. Seriously, it could even maybe be photo negative Mickey. Regardless, enough talking about cool environments. How about we talk about the two main characters that are our only threats right now, Willie and Belial. Willie is an old Mickey in the style of the Steamboat Willie cartoon, not the first ever Mickey Mouse cartoon, and I'm gonna stand by that so long as Plain Crazy exists. Anyway, Willie is a very talkative, childlike Mickey. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. He has lines such as,
"Where's my boat?
And
I've got a hat on my head.
Also,
You're not very nice.
Again,
This hat is mine.
Also,
My boat? You took it.
Finally,
He isn't nice."
and they all have that child play-like kind of vibe to them. Granted, by a lot of the descriptions, a lot of the characters are actually pretty young, but Willie and Belial especially are some of the youngest. Regardless, Willie is a very easy character to deal with. He's basically like Springtrap, but he's way more responsive. If you use the audio lure in a camera right next to him, or in the camera he's in, whether or not he's still in there or leaves, he'll go to that camera, or stay in the camera he's currently in. Now, Willie does have a bit of a set path, but he can get himself back on it pretty easily, as he really does have two of them. His main path that he'll usually take is taking Cam 1, which is the entrance, Cam 3, which is a dining room-like area, then to Cam 6, which is like a little library right outside your door. However, if you use the audio lure from the dining room and take him up to the little break room in Cam 2, he will then switch tactics, going to Cam 4, which is a little potential recreation of an actual Disney desk, or where potential actual Mickey cartoons were made. Either way, he can come from either door. Now, if you somehow suck at dealing with him, which you really shouldn't this night, he can actually come into the doors, and he'll even open them up. And usually he'll have a voice line or this little creaking sound of him opening the door. Do not fret though. While this won't really be effective on later nights, on this night, if you use the audio lure in the same camera as the door he's on, he'll go back, and then you can keep bringing him back. And there's really only two places where you might want to bring him. Camera 9, which is outside, or Camera 5, which is a bathroom. Him and another character we'll be talking about later, this is usually the prime place to bring them for custom night challenges. I do feel like I should say this though real quick. Willie can go anywhere in the cabin, you just have to lure him there first. Anyway, I did say two characters. Belial is the other character, Active, and this is where that notepad comes in. Every now and then the notepad will have a drawing of the character Hortensia start to form on it. All you've got to do is erase it. Now, if you do let it form, she surprisingly does take a lot after Disembodied. However, Disembodied's potential girlfriend does exist, but we'll get to her later. Basically, if Belial fully forms on the notepad and spawns in the office, she'll start having a seizure in the middle of the floor, as she has no legs, unlike Oswald having legs and no arms, and she'll speed up the other characters ×2. So Willie actually does somewhat become a bit of a threat on this night if you somehow let her spawn, but even then, it's light work. Hey, if someone can beat the whole game with Belial active, then it's fine. Anyway, you beat the night. Whoa. Man, this thing from the ring, it keeps showing up! So what, did we die? Wow, fever dream. I swear, maybe we are on that good kush. I don't know, this is weird. Jokes aside, this is the post-mortem section. This is the place you'll be brought to if you die. If you do beat it successfully, you'll go back to the night an hour before. But regardless, let's look at this note that we were given. You have been given a second chance. Collect Mickey heads on the cameras to return. Your best friend will ward off the mouse and the rabbit. The dog does not like the light. The duck will try to trick you. Watch what you collect. The other mouse does not like to be watched. She is impatient. You must work quickly before the time runs out. But here, let me explain this in simpler terms. The characters that we're currently dealing with are the shades. Basically memories or distorted versions of the characters we already know. So we have photo-negative Mickey, Oswald, Disembodied, Acephalus, Impurity, and Hortensia. Hortensia being the only oddball, as we never really saw her in Treasure Island, but supposedly her shade is still there, but you just can't really see it. Whatever, let's start with Shade P&M. Shade P&M will make his way through the cameras and eventually to your office, where all you gotta do is hold out your best friend and poke it with a needle, seeing as your best friend is basically a voodoo doll. The same thing applies to Shade Oswald. Once Shade Oswald comes into the office, bring out your best friend and poke it with the needle. Do not poke him too many times though, and this applies for just in general, or else you will be jumped. Shade Acephalus, or just Shade Goofy, is the easiest to deal with. All you gotta do is just flash him once. You don't even gotta hold it on him, just tap, and that will get rid of him. And arguably, Shade Impurity, or Shade Mini, is even easier. Every now and then on the cameras while you're looking for the Mickey heads, you'll come across Minnie. If you stare at her for more than a second, she'll pop up in the office, but don't worry, just pull the monitor back up and that will get rid of her. Shade Disembodied, or just Shade Donald, will take the place of one of the Mickey heads. The way you'll know is that he'll flash himself on top of the Mickey head every now and then. It's a weird effect, but once you realize it, it makes it easy to detect him. And like before, he makes a sound similar to the original Disembodied. Take a listen, and again, volume warning. Shade Hortensia is a bit of an insta-kill character. If you stay there too long trying to find the Mickey heads and her timer runs out in the carousel camera, she will insta-kill you almost immediately. But with this night, you only having to find 3 Mickey heads, you should be able to blow through it without even really much thought or brain power needed. So, after beating postmortem, you go back to the cabin, and that's that. Here comes the main post-night section, this being the utility tunnels. These tunnels, which you actually probably do know this, there are tunnels going underneath the park on Disneyland and Disney World. I doubt there were any on Treasure Island, but for the sake of this, there are tunnels underneath the island. The main threat you're dealing with is the original Treasure Island cast still merged into the newly redesigned Hourglass. I will admit, I think I do like this design more, but some of the renders of the classic Hourglass design I think I like more. Either way though, it's a 50-50 with both of them. But regardless, Hourglass is very simple. See, your main objective down here in the tunnels is to find a key and an exit gate and to leave. While you're doing this, you got a lighter. Turning this lighter off, you can't move, but you can hear these whispers which help you, or turning it on allows you to run around the place. If you hear this like wet boot sound walking around, that's Hourglass. Get too close to him and he'll start chasing you. All you gotta do is just run away from him long enough and he'll eventually lose interest. He's really simple to deal with, just whatever you do, do not go into the closet while he's chasing you, or else you will be jumped. No, seriously, this is what happens if he finds you and you enter the closet with the key. Yeah, as you can imagine, not fun for Jake. Anyway, with that, you find the key, you go to the exit gate, and that's that. Starting up night 2, we get another message on the notepad, where it says, "Listen for the sounds in the attic. He is scared of the light. A new creature is roaming the cameras. Use the camera flash when you see it." This is referring to the 2 new characters, Cabin Face, yes, that is his name now, and Daisy. No, she doesn't have some stupid name, she's just Daisy. We'll talk about Daisy first since she shares the cameras with the other characters. Daisy is a character that you will only see if you flip through the cameras too much. and even then, all you gotta do is use the camera flash whenever you see her. She is really easy to deal with, and even if she does get into the office, on these earlier nights, she'll basically just tweak out like Belial, except she'll stop you from doing anything on the cameras. However, she won't stop you from going to the attic, so you can still deal with the other character that we're about to talk about. Cabin Face. Cabin Face is really easy. Basically, you'll hear this sound like a bouncy ball hitting wood, or something of wood creaking above you. When you hear the sound, you gotta drop whatever you're doing. Well, not immediately, but you probably should. Drop whatever you're doing and go to the attic. When you get into the attic, you'll see Cabin Face in there. All you gotta do is hold the lighter over him twice. Once you do it once, he'll move to another part of the attic, and you'll just have to hold your lighter on him again. You only gotta do this twice for now, but later you will have to do it more. Anyway, this night is pretty uneventful. It's really easy, and there's not really any major story happening this time. There's no crazy cutscenes happening either. I don't even really have a need to talk about the utility tunnels. They're the exact same every time. This is one of my main problems with Oblitus, and it's not even really that big of a deal, since the rest of its story, well, there's not much story here to say. We got most of it in the beginning. There's really no need to add more. But there definitely feels like there's some story elements lacking here and there. Potentially the key that you go to has some sort of paper, or it's a different key, or the tunnels changed slightly to show something a little bit more unique, but the post-night sections and the main nights do look exactly the same, so we'll skip the utility tunnels for now until something interesting happens, and we'll go on to Night 3. Night 3 only introduces one character, and as such, the notepad doesn't have as much as the other nights. This is what it says. You cannot let her into your room. Use the flash. This is referring to the new character being Photonegative Minnie, who is a major redesign from the original, since the original was just a recolored Impurity, so this is way better. Or it was the other way around. Photonegative Minnie came first, then Impurity was just a normal recolor of her. Either way, Photonegative Minnie has a different design, and I love it a lot more than just normal Impurity. All you gotta do to get rid of Photonegative Minnie is to flash her. She'll basically be moving around like Willy, and again, another character we will be talking about later, but she can actually be set back. She'll basically make her way down as opposed to Willy making his way to the left, then down. But regardless, you can flash her all the way back till Cam 9, which is the absolute furthest she can go. Again, nothing really crazy happens, no new story elements. We beat the night, so let's head on to Night 4. Man, Hourglass though, something about him. We can't just keep running around with him playing chicken. We gotta deal with him somehow. I think Jake's got an idea. Night 4 is where I say the difficulty ramps up a lot. We get introduced to two new characters that are semi or complete opposites of their adjacent partners. But for now, the notepad does go over them, and this is what it says. Someone new is in the attic. He does not like the light. Leave him alone. That is a absolute direct opposite of what you would normally do when you hear that. Usually that means to flash them to get rid of them. Anyway, continuing reading. The music will work on the creature that comes to your window. The notepad is referring to Pete and Dippy. We'll start with Pete first, as he's the easiest to explain. Pete is the exact opposite of Cabin Face. Instead of holding the ladder on him, you want to come up into the attic, check that he's there, and then leave. Sure, you never actually have to check on Pete at all, but if you have both him and Cabin Face on, you're gonna want to check up there. Just don't immediately start using the lighter when you get in there. Otherwise, you'll be fine. The more interesting character is Dippy. Dippy is exactly like Willy functionality-wise, but his pathfinding is a lot different, and is also a lot less forgiving. Dippy will start in Cam 7 in the kitchen, and then will go to Cam 8 outside on the little porch. If you let him get out here, he'll go outside to your window, break it open, and kill you. So, obviously, you want to get him away. This is where him and Willy, though, having the same mechanic is actually a good thing. See, Willy actually starts on a camera that's not on the map. Cam -1, if you will. However, though, you can pull both him and Dippy to the entrance in Cam 1, then bring them both down to Cam 5 in the bathroom, which, again, like I said earlier, this is the prime place to have them during the custom night challenges. If you keep these guys here, deal with Photonegative Minnie every now and then, make sure to flash Daisy if you ever see on the cameras, which you definitely will be on this night, making sure not to flash Pete, but to flash Cabin Face, and erase the drawing of Hortensia on the notepad, you'll be fine this night. I do want to say this though, do not just mindlessly spam the audio lore, make sure that you're using it strategically here, as again, while it's not that bad here, and the main nights are a lot more forgiving than the custom night challenges, there is still a chance that if you use the audio lore too much to keep the characters in one place, you will eventually lose the audio lore, and you'll have to start keeping Dippy and Willy in the entrance, which is not good, because then this allows them to split off into their own paths. And to note, you never, ever, ever want Dippy and Willy apart. You always want them together in the same room. Otherwise, it is a nightmare getting them back together and to not kill you. Night 4 utility tunnels. Oh hey, something interesting happened. The utility tunnels don't have anything unique to them necessarily. However, Jake's plan that I was talking about earlier is clearly coming into effect. Him being on an island, done messing with the Sandy. The man is now a pyromaniac apparently, as he does this to Hourglass. Yeah, so that kind of really made whatever this woman is, because judging by the voice and her name being Mother, really made her mad. So, I guess it is about time that we go over this. This little cutscene involves the character Mother, who we won't really get into necessarily, but in layman's terms and for the sake of the story, she is the one who created all of the characters. And not through your weird fetishes, by the way. Matter of fact, Willy and Belial, like I said earlier, are probably some of the youngest. Belial especially being the youngest out of the rest of the cast, being only a toddler during the events of Oblitus Casa. Regardless, Mother is these characters' Toon's mother, their caretaker. And considering you just burned her original children alive right in front of her after they graduated from college, yeah, she's rightfully mad. Granted, they wanted to kill you, but she apparently just wants to ignore that fact. Saying that they didn't understand what you want, but that doesn't make any sense. You should still not want to kill, because apparently in some other teasers, they didn't kill other SSA. Whatever. Also, according to Mother, apparently she's seen this happen multiple times, like the whole Treasure Island story, so I think what this might mean, and one of my friends said what he thinks it might mean, but what it might mean is that characters like True Mickey, I'm gonna use her, the Lost One's name, but Pandora, or other versions of characters like Hourglass, are all her at the end of the day. Meaning that she has seen this story happen multiple times over and over again. Now, whether or not that's supposed to be confirming that these fan games are somehow canon, I don't know. And even if they are, that's fine, because it's like a multiverse thing, but whatever, it does not matter. This cutscene is breaking my mind already. So, we've listened to Mother's last words saying that she's going to end it and she's going to make sure of it this time, and we get to night 5. Sorry, I'm really tired. Okay, I've been working on this straight for like a while now. But hey, this is definitely a lot shorter than the Treasure Island section, so I don't mind. The notepad, as usual, has something to say, and this is what it says. She behaves like her children. The one with eyes will still come to the attic. He is not under her control. Trust your instincts. Do not get fooled by fake sounds. You can do this. Which, yes, that does mean that she basically is another Hourglass. But I feel like this makes sense. I mean, she quite literally did make Hourglass, so it makes sense that Hourglass is going to act like her, or I guess the other way around. Regardless, Mother now has a new design, and I'm going to refer to her 3 designs in this night as different characters. The one that acts like Daisy we'll be calling Mother, as that looks the most like the Mother we've been seeing this whole time. However though, instead of Mother coming into the office and stopping you from doing stuff, because if that happened you would die instantly, instead of that happening, she'll actually permanently shut off the camera that you were on. So, if you see her, flash her. Do not switch cameras and do not turn the monitor off. Mother's other design, known as Mick, is the main threat. For now, we're gonna ignore the little child upstairs. Basically, Mick works like the other characters. She works like both Dippy, Willy, and Photonegative Mickey all in one. Minnie! I meant Minnie, not Mickey. I got my mouth twisted while saying Photonegative and then Minnie, but I said you get the point. The way you tell how she works is a lot more obvious this time. It's all depending on whether or not she has her eyes. If she has eyes, then that means that she's impersonating Photonegative Minnie. So, likewise, flash her all the way back to cam 9 if you can. However, every time you send her back or even forward the camera, she might gain or lose her eyes. So if that happens, instead of flashing her like Photonegative Minnie, if she loses her eyes, you'll have to use the music box like Willy and Dippy. Like I said, the prime place to have her is cam 9. However, she does also impersonate Pete. Basically, what will happen is that if she leaves the map entirely, and you hear the attic sound that either Cabin Face or Pete is up there, do not go up there. If you do, you will die. And there's no second chances. You can't just leave the attic real quick. You will die the instant you get up there. I mean, you do have a little second to look at her, but that's about it. Anyway, real quick, she also takes over the notepad and acts exactly like Belial, except she doesn't speed up herself in Inkblot Face. She kills you. So, yeah. Now on to Cabin Face. Inkblot Face. Because yes, this man's name has changed again. Inkblot Face is exactly the same as Cabin Face, except he is a lot quicker in both reaction time needed and how quick it is to deal with him. Instead of flashing him twice, you'll have to flash him 6 times. Except, instead of having to hold the light on him for a long time, you ain't even gotta hold it on for more than a second. Do that very quickly, and try not to accidentally leave the attic. Trust me, that will happen a few more times than you think it will. Try not to leave the attic by accident, flash Inkblot Face as much as you can, and you'll be fine. Man, this night is a little... Okay, I just had to say something. This is where the difficulty of night 5 kicks in at 3 a.m. Mother decides to elongate her body, making herself not only bigger and much skinnier, but also a lot, and I mean a lot faster. Inkblot Face 2 also gets faster. Mother's method of attacking does not change at all. If she does have eyes, flash her. If she doesn't, use the music box. But regardless, if you're able to deal with that and Inkblot Face, that's it. Once the night is over, Mother is burned alive. And supposedly with that, the island is torn down with her. Everything's gone. All of it. Every little bit of it is gone. Jake is now pretty much staying on a lifeless husk of what used to be Disney's most ambitious endeavor of the time. He's all alone. But, wait. There's someone to talk to. Hold on! Wait. I can't talk about that just yet. However, though, because we have a lot more time here, at least to talk about extra stuff, I figured, hey, why not just go ahead and talk about the little creepypasta challenges, because they do give you the other custom night characters, and they allow you to get the final cutscene. Now, I'm not going to go into crazy detail, I'm just wanting to talk about the creepypasta challenges in general, a little bit about their history, and just what you unlock by doing them. So let's start with the first creepypasta challenge, Jeff the Killer. Jeff the Killer isn't just a random insert of an old creepypasta. He was actually supposed to have a night dedicated to himself in the older builds of Fnati. Primarily, again, in ADI and Mole Rat stuff, because those were the things to bring him back, but regardless, he was meant to be there. Jeff and Oblitus Casa is really easy to deal with. All you gotta do is reset the cameras in order to beat the night, so it's also kind of a bit of a remake of the end of Disney. Anyway, Jeff's got 2 main ways of attacking you. His first attack is just standing in the office. All you gotta do is pull down the monitor, which he'll do that for you, and just stand still. He'll eventually leave you alone. You ain't even gotta hold down nothing, just don't move the mouse at all. His other method, which requires having 2 cameras, primarily cameras 2 and 7, so you can actually see where he's entering, relies on you flashing the hallways like you did for Goofy. However, don't just mindly flash the hallways or else you'll lose your flashlight power pretty quickly. And Jeff does get faster the more cameras you reset. It's a perfect balance, I'd say. It's a really good night. That has some fire music. For beating Jeff the Killer's night on either normal or on hard mode, you'll unlock Photo Negative Mickey from the original game, Treasure Island, because that is now the official version of the game. The next creepypasta challenge is Slenderman. Like Jeff, Slenderman was supposed to have his own creepypasta night dedicated to him in the older builds of Fnati. However, it was unfortunately one of the ones to never really have anything made for him. The only thing, and I saw this from a source I can't find, that was planned for him was that he was going to have the whole collect 8 pages thing. I don't know if he would have walked around the building or not, but I don't know. His game is a complete recreation of Slenderman in the 8 pages. Slenderman takes over the utility tunnels. He's not the only one to do this, but I mean, you can only do so much with 3 styles of gameplay. All you gotta do is run around the tunnels, which is a lot easier because you actually have a flashlight this time. However, Slenderman is very aggressive. Even on normal difficulty, he's got a bit of a learning curve to him. However, the main thing to note is that Slenderman will always spawn in front of you, which also means though that while he can chase you, you can actually get him stuck behind the gates. So, like the little corner areas is what I'm talking about. Again, just try your best to find all 8 pages, and you'll be good. Anyway, your reward for beating this is... Man, who are you? Okay, this is Celester. He is a character that's been around for a while, but I just do not like him at all. Or her. I've seen some depictions of Celester being a girl. I don't know. The next one is Smile Dog, and this one... Oh, it and the other guy, I hate so much. This one's a lot more fair though. I was able to do it, like when replaying the game my second time, I was able to beat it first try. Again, like Jeff and Slenderman, Smile Dog was another character that was planned, but really had absolutely nothing for him. He was just there. It was one of those concepts that had absolutely nothing made for it. Regardless, this is like the N64 having you spin the joystick all over again. You're about to get some arthritis from this. Smile Dog takes over the main night sections, and the way to deal with him is that you've got to completely erase his drawing from the notepad. However, the drawing can reform itself very, and I mean very quickly. Not only that, Smile Dog has 2 main ways of attacking, either on the cameras or in the attic. Attic is the easiest way, but we'll talk about the cameras first. Basically, if Smile Dog shows up on the cameras, you have to find him and flash him 3 to I think 6 times. I'm pretty sure on normal mode it's 3, on hard mode it's 6. I, again, did not double check before saying this. He can either do that, or he can go to the attic, where all you gotta do is just flash him once. That's it. Best thing to happen, but regardless, this night is very rewarding when you do beat it. Speaking of reward, you unlocked Oswald from 6.0, just like P&M. Our final character, and the one I hate the most, Eyeless Jack. Similarly to Smile Dog, Eyeless Jack had pretty much nothing, but was another character planned for a creepypasta night. Again, literally nothing was made for him, or concepts or ideas similar to Smile Dog, which is kind of sad. But again, with the whole uncertainty of Fnati back in the day, and anything official being made, it is kind of understandable why none of these guys came to fruition back then. Jeff was the only one that made it there because Anart had left remnants of a Jeff the Killer night. Eyeless Jack is the other character to take over the utility tunnels. All you've got to do is take 5 pictures of Jack, which is easier said than done because you can't see crap. You do have a flash beacon, which I'm assuming is just your camera flash, but regardless, take 5 photos of him, get close to him, and I mean close, just not too close or else he will touch you. Don't stay here too long or else you'll fall asleep and he'll come tickle you very aggressively in your sleep. Take the 5 photos and you'll beat it pretty easily. It's hard to know when he's actually there, especially with the headphones. Your reward for beating Eyeless Jack is Inkblot Mick from Nightmare Before Disney. And with that, that's all the extra characters and custom night characters. Going to the custom night challenges and going to the Nightmare challenge, which has all of the main night characters on max AI, it's basically the night 6 of this game, even though there is a night 6, but that's just a harder version of night 5. Beat Nightmare mode, and you'll unlock the character Corruptus, who I can say confidently this time is from ADI. I swear, if someone in the comments says that no, he's not, he's from some older Build-A-Finity that I just do not remember, I'm gonna cry. Sorry, I actually forgot a character, so I'm just gonna put him here. The way you unlock him is very similar to Corruptus, beating a main knight. You actually unlock this character by beating Knight 5, so you automatically unlock one of the custom knight characters. This character,
Cabin Face, by the way.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
His name's Cabin.
Yeah, it's Cabin Face. You've been getting his name wrong. You're retarded.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. So, this whole time, I have been calling this guy, who I've been referring to him as Cabin Face. His name is Corrupted Face. And this is Cabin Face, from the original version of Oblitus Casa back in 2015, which he was the only character to be made from the original Oblitus. So, yeah, it's pretty cool that one of the only models is getting used here. Anyway, hopefully that just deleted at least 20,000 comments that were about to say, "You've been calling Face by the wrong name." Now I know it's Corrupted Face, not Cabin. They are two separate characters. Anyway, that should be all the custom night characters. Anyway, if you are a lunatic and are somehow able to be True Nightmare, which I don't understand how people do, but people legitimately do, you do unlock one final cutscene. And this is what Jake sees before he actively leaves the island. It's... oh my goodness, it's Henry! He's alive. He wasn't dead. Well, whatever happened to him, he's clearly out of the Undying suit, but he's still got that Mickey mask on. It's different, and I think that's just a party mask, but regardless, he's now in a brown overcoat with a little hoodie on top of him. I'm pretty sure this is another reference to the Lost Ones. I mean, it doesn't help that that game does take place in a cabin, but whatever. I'm just going to let Henry do his thing. I don't think me talking over him is going to do him justice.
You know, Jake, I really had my doubts about you. I mean, after everything that happened, after what they did, and then they send you here, who wouldn't? But you impressed me. You really did. I was angry at first. Angry about being lied to, about them putting me into that situation. I mean, they got me killed. Can you really blame me? And realizing that this had been happening over and over on a scope greater than anyone could ever comprehend. And I'm always the one who gets the worst of it. It was hard to let go. But I realized that eventually, that this was never going to end until we ended her. By the time I let go of everything and left that costume behind, I thought it was too late. You were gone, trapped in limbo. I started rebuilding myself slowly. I used whatever I could get my hands on. I knew it was a long shot, but if I had even the slightest chance of finally bringing her down, I had to take it. And then you showed up again. I knew this was what I had been waiting for, a second chance. I started leaving notes for you. I'd been observing those things for a while. I knew how to trick them, how to outsmart them. I knew she was getting desperate to get rid of you. I mean, this was probably the furthest you'd ever gotten. That's what I was getting nervous about. You really made her angry. But then, you did it. You did the impossible. You killed her. You know, it's funny, kind of. This all started because they needed another intern to come looking for me. All that time and all the times you were looking for me, I guess it's fitting I got to help you finish things. To repay you for that in the end. The nightmare is over for the most part anyway. I can't thank you enough, Jake. Truly. You might not even understand what you've accomplished ever. But just know, no matter what, that she won't haunt you or this island anymore. Years and years of things most can't even fathom. Monsters, haunted costumes, nightmarish cartoons, all those things. Finally over. Just like that. I think this is it, Jake. This is where you and Treasure Island finally part ways. This may seem weird, but I'm going to miss you. I really am. Goodbye. And thank you.
And with that, Treasure Island and Oblitus Casa are done. You know, I could talk about the other secret characters. Party 1 over Mortimer. Sparky is also here. He's another secret character. I think a character from the Return to Freddy's 5 is here. I think. I don't know who this guy is in the attic. I don't. And D's and Nuts, who is actually a character from a Casa demo. I was tempted to put the 2019 Oblitus Casa demo in here, but I felt like that would ruin the pacing of this video. I gotta say, it's surreal to think that this series is going to truly come to an end this time. But how about we actually talk about the story as it is? Starting off, we are going to be including the original creepypasta here. So basically, a random urban explorer goes to Mowgli's goes to Treasure Island, and after a little bit of exploring, he wants to find something he can take back with him to prove that he actually came here. And as a result, he decided to go into an old character prep room. In the middle of the floor, he found a weird Mickey costume that had photonegative inverted colors and a Donald Duck head. Picking up the head, a skull popped out of it. Ignoring what connotations that might have, the photonegative Mickey suit wakes up, and he says the iconic line,
Hey! You wanna see my head come off?
The whole story of Abandoned by Disney happens, and supposedly due to this, the SSA is called by Disney as a contract deal to figure out what's actually happening on this island, as supposedly these toons, as they're called, might be making some other negative effects to the locals around the island. Our protagonist, Jake, has already been having sleeping troubles, and supposedly they are caused by him having some sort of thing with Disney. Look, Blue Oddities, even though it's no longer canon, it does still give an opening, and I feel like it should be talked about. Regardless, Greg McLaughlin tells Jake that he finally got the job as an SSA intern, and that they've got a position for him on an island with a contract deal by Disney. Jake would go to Treasure Island or Discovery Island and would stay 5 nights there, or at least he was supposed to, getting phone calls from other SSA members, and one from a member that had supposedly gone missing, who was also a good friend of his, that being Henry Miller. Wanting to reunite with Henry, he decides to go down to the Pirate Caverns, only to find a man in a Mickey suit. And yes, Undying is Henry, if that wasn't already obvious. Going back up to the office, Jake would stay for one more night, hoping to leave in the very morning. However, that unfortunately didn't happen. Greg unfortunately had to relay the news that Jake was going to have to stay on the island a little bit longer, and reluctantly, Jake had to agree. Come Jake's unplanned 6th night, the toons that have been chasing him this whole time have merged into one being known as Hourglass, in a last-ditch effort to get rid of him. Jake evades them perfectly, knowing how they function on a very technical level. Jake then runs to the Pirate Caverns after he got a phone call from Henry, now understanding that whenever Henry made those phone calls, they were a long time ago. Using the code given to him, he goes down to the 3rd floor and opens the door, and opens the vault to see what was hiding under there. Potentially what could have been what made these characters. And whether or not he found the material, or the creator, is up to one's own imagination. Regardless, after Jake found what was down there, he ran out of the caverns and out of the cast building. Unfortunately for him, Mother got him, putting him in a sort of limbo. Whether or not he was put into the post-mortem section of Oblitus Casa or a black void, to be honest, we may never know. Sometime during this point, Henry was able to get out of the Undying suit. Whether he had gone mad or was just clinically insane after being on the island for so long and apparently died at some point being brought back to life by Mother, Henry removed the suit. At a cost, though. Being a literal walking corpse, that suit was pretty much a part of him, using pieces and bits of machinery and other bits and pieces of just random things on the island, he was able to rebuild himself. During this time, he would document and research the characters, learning how they worked on a technical level. At some point, he would write down notes for when Jake would eventually come back, and to his surprise, he did, leaving the notes in the cabin that Jake ran to after being released from limbo. Henry was putting his faith in Jake's hands, something he didn't exactly want to do, fearing that Jake might not have what it takes, but to his surprise, he was more than capable. This is where the events of Oblitus Casa happen. Jake is forced to go through the what's left characters, that being characters like Willie, Dippy, etc. Every now and then going down to the utility tunnels attempting to find something, or to set a trap, which he successfully did. Cornering Hourglass into a locker, Hourglass under the assumption he's just going to kill him, completely unaware that he's in a room full of gas. Jake lights a lighter, slams the door shut, and Hourglass is burned alive, killing all of the original characters from Treasure Island. Mother, being able to feel this happening, is enraged by the sheer thought of her children being dead. So, she's tired of just letting you roam around the island. She's going to kill you herself. And she gonna make sure of it.
Ow! 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 What the? Ow!
Mother comes in a form more akin to the other characters, that being Mikmik, who I guess I should go ahead and say is a character from the older builds of Fanati, but whatever. She relentlessly tries to kill you with the help of one of her other creations that she doesn't really have any control over anymore, that being the Face, now under the name Inkblot Face due to him melting so much. Regardless, even with elongating her body, making her faster and stronger, Jake still ends up winning, burning her alive and supposedly the rest of the island with it. With that, Henry congratulates Jake on finally killing the one thing keeping this loop going. It's over. There's nothing after. Eventually, Jake is picked up by the authorities, as the beginning of the game says, and is brought to therapy. Okay, I feel like I need to say something here. This next part of the story, the way I see it, is involving a game that is no longer or never was actually canon to begin with. The game in question being Nightmare Below Disney, which looked on the surface to be another big Fanati game, but when released was just a big joke game. The way I see it is that this is Jake's coping mechanism. Jake thinking of some of the stupidest things a character could be, since some of the characters' designs as he saw them were pretty laughable. Even the things they said were just corny beyond belief. A photo-negative Mickey, a scary recolor that was just more of a joke saying things like, "Hey, do you want to see my head come off?" As a coping mechanism to basically think of everything a little bit more funny, Jake would think of scenarios of him working in the tunnels under Disney as a underpaid intern, dealing with old broken down machinery found around the park, had stupid names like Candace and Molten D's, or a guy in a wheelchair that rolled back and had a cigar in his mouth. Truly thinking of the most absurd things he can, to think of everything that had happened there as a joke. Not to forget that any of it happened, and not to say that Henry's death was in vain, but to help him process what actually happened on the island by looking at it through a bit of a more funnier lens. Obviously this wasn't permanent. He eventually had to tell the full story to Dr. Jared, but regardless, seeing it in a more funnier way helped him. Now, whether or not Jake is actually okay now is beyond me, but regardless, this is the end of Five Nights at Treasure Island. The story is done. Every little bit of it. I must say, thank you so much for staying through this. I wasn't really expecting for anyone to stay this far, so if you did, I can't believe I'm saying this, but could you hit that subscribe button? Please, we are so close, and I do kind of want to get monetized, but also, I want to make more stuff like this. Like, genuinely, this means so much to me, because while I do really like Treasure Island, there are other games I like that I want to talk about. And while I might be the 400th YouTuber to do this, I still want to do it. It's my thing, and these are the games I like. They're series that I have held near and dear to my heart for years. And just Treasure Island means the most to me. Heck, in the near future, I might remake this video, because it definitely was completely unscripted. All of this was just going off of my own thoughts. As a matter of fact, this section right now is. But, regardless, I thank you. I thank you all for staying. And I will see you all later. Bye-bye.